بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day, esteemed evaluators and colleagues. On behalf of the TESOL College at New York World Professional University, USA, I am pleased to open this official session for the evaluation of the TESOL Professional Doctorate Dissertation. Today, we are here to assess the academic work of our candidate, Ms. Ghadeer Naser, who has submitted her dissertation entitled The Impact of the PPU Framework on Improving English Expository Essay Writing Fluency, Speed, Organization, and Cohesion among EFL Saudi female students. This dissertation is presented in fulfillment of the requirements for the Professional Doctorate in TESOL at New York World Professional University, USA, accredited by the World Standards Establishment, WSE, USA. Will have 45 to 60 minutes to deliver a comprehensive presentation of her research. We now invite Ms. Ghadeer Naser to begin her presentation and responses. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, examiners, professors, and guests. My name is Ghadeer Naser, and I'm honored to present to you my PhD research titled The Impact of the PPU Framework on Improving English Expository Writing Essay Fluency related to speed, organization, cohesion among EFL Saudi female students. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I look forward to sharing with you my study and my findings. This thesis is submitted in partial fulfillment of the requirements of the TESOL Professional Doctorate PT program at the New York Professional University, USA, and officially documented by the World Standards Establishment, USA. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Basma Salim for her unlimited support during my journey, and I would like to thank my parents, my family, and my husband for sure. Introduction to my study. This study aims to improve the fluency of expository essay writing among Saudi female students in the 11th grade of English as a foreign language by implementing the presentation practice and use, which is the PPU framework, which emphasizes continuous practice and meaningful engagement in writing projects to students' confidence and writing skills. The research explores the effectiveness of the PPU framework in enhancing writing fluency, organization, and cohesion, particularly in expository writing essay, and investigates its potential to improve writing skills among Saudi female students, offering insights for educators, curriculum developers, and policymakers to create targeted interventions. The PPU framework, which has its origins from the ECRIF strategy of language learning, which is encountering, clarification, remembering, internalizing, fluent and use, emphasizes the significance of pre-writing planning, iterative writing practice, and the purpose uses of language in the process of developing writing competency. The objectives of this study: to assess the impact of the PPU framework among female Saudi English as a foreign language, to determine whether the PPU framework significantly enhances the writing fluency, including speed, organization, cohesion of expository essay writing among female Saudi EFL students when compared with traditional writing instruction, and to explore the perceptions of female Saudi students toward the effectiveness of the PPU framework in improving their writing skills. Related to the questions we have, for objective 1, to what extent does the presentation practice and use affect the writing fluency among female Saudi English as a foreign language, as a foreign students? What is the statistical significance at the significance level of alpha of the impact of the PPU framework on enhancing expository essay writing among female Saudi EFL students in terms of speed, organization, and structure improvements and cohesion compared to traditional writing instruction. Lastly, what are the perceptions of female Saudi EFL students regarding the effectiveness and utility of the PPU framework in improving their writing skills? The problem statement. I divide problem statement into three parts. Part 1, challenges in EFL writing proficiency among Saudi students. Related to the Ministry of Education 2022, writing is a difficult skill for Saudi students learning English as a foreign language. Al-Ghammas said that in 2022, a significant number of students in Saudi Arabia fail English courses, leading to policies allowing them to advance despite poor performances. And graduating students often have weak English proficiency, affecting their academic and professional opportunities related to Mosawi in 2024. The second part of the problem statement, limitations of traditional teaching methods. Researchers indicate that standard teaching methodologies in Saudi Arabia don't effectively develop students' writing skills. This is related to Al-Anizi 2022 and Mosawi 2024. Another study done by Al-Muhadib 2019, traditional approaches emphasizes memorization and grammar over meaningful writing practice, limiting students' ability to write fluently. Al-Shimmari, Al-Mhaisin 2017, show that standard teaching methods in Saudi Arabia have limitations, particularly in improving students' learning outcomes and writing skills. Their findings suggest that these approaches could be enhanced for greater effectiveness. The third part, the need for innovative and structural approaches. Recent studies highlight the importance of shifting to more engaging and effective teaching frameworks, such as the PPU framework, which integrates active learning and structured practice, and this is related to TESOL certificate course in 2024. Moreover, it's important to recognize that recent research has examined the potential benefits for implementing innovative teaching strategies. There is a research gap in studying the effectiveness of the PPU framework in improving writing fluency among Saudi female students. Some studies like Deakin 2017 and Ghammas 2022, they show that studied Saudi Arabia students in schools and universities struggle to develop effective writing strategies, negatively impacting their writing skills. The study gap. In the context of improving writing skills among EFL learners in Saudi Arabia, there is a gap in research focusing on the use of structured frameworks like PPU to enhance specific writing fluency such as speed, organization, and cohesion. Current literature discusses digital readinesses, inductive teaching, and pedagogical approaches, but often overlooks the interact challenges that Saudi female face. This study bridges this gap by examining the effectiveness of the PPU framework within this context. Through structured planning and systematic instruction, PPU helps students to enhance organization, coherence, and clarity, leading to more effective and writing communication. Limitation. The limited in generalizability. The study focused on female Saudi EFL students in a single secondary school in Riyadh, which may not represent broader population or context. The sample size. The study included only 40 participants, reducing the ability to generalize findings to the wider EFL students population. Quasi-experimental design is another limitation. The absence of random group assignment may introduce confident variables limiting the strength of causal conclusion. Potential bias in self-reports. Students' perceptions were collected via surveys which may be influenced by social or response bias affecting the reliability of qualitative results. Going to talk about the methodology part. This study employed a quasi-experimental design. The study was conducted in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh with 11th grade female students. The population and sampling, we choose 40 students, 20 for experimentally group receive the instruction or the intervention, which is the PPU framework, and 20 for control group followed the traditional writing and structure methods. The sampling method was chosen to allow the study to focus on students with similar educational background while ensuring diversity in writing proficiency levels. Related to Richard in 2019, said that quasi-experimental designs are commonly used in education research, particularly when random assignment is empirical. A pre-test and post-test design was adopted to measure the students' writing fluency, focusing on speed, organization, cohesion. The intervention lasted for a specific period during which the experimental group received structured instruction following the PPU frameworks. The control group was taught using the traditional method. Following data collection, quantitative and qualitative analysis were conducted. The pre-test and the post-test scores were statistically analyzed using the t-test and ANCOVA to determine the framework's effectiveness. Additionally, for perception survey, it was administered to gather students' feedback on their learning experience. The sample technique. The study uses purposive sampling and convenience sampling. For purposive sampling, the participants are selected based on specific criteria. For the convenience sampling, the participants are chosen based on availability, making it easier and quicker to gather data. Participant selection. The study specifically targets female students in Saudi Arabia secondary school to focus on their writing skills development in English. This choice reflects efforts to improve gender equality in English in Saudi Arabia. The advantages of the selection for the researcher: convenience, quick and acceptable data collection, targeted sample focuses on a specific demographic for relevant insights. So this is the table that shows the equivalence between the two groups. As you see here, the total of experimental and the control group are similar. For the control group, 3.92, and for the experimental group, 3.88, which means the results indicated no statistically significant differences between the groups at the significance level alpha. This confirms that the two groups were equivalent before the intervention, supporting the validity of comparing their post-test performance later. And this is the quasi-experimental design. As you see here, we used the two groups, experimental group and the control group, and we have made two tests for them, pre-test and post-test. For the experimental group, we have done intervention before the post-test, but for the control group, they did both without treatment or without intervention, which is the independent variables, the PPU framework. This is the intervention. What is the PPU framework? It's a teaching process. It's a framework that describes how a teacher can structure a lesson, and it's also used in planning the stages of a lesson. It consists of 3 stages: presentation, practice, and use, and can be used with all skills for novice level and only with productive skills, writing, speaking, for intermediate and advanced level. And this framework is the PPU framework. As you see, we have 3 stages here. The first stage is presentation, which here the teacher introduces a new target or a new language. The second one, which is a practice, allowing students to practice new skills through structured activities. And the last one, which is use, encouraging students to apply their skills in their real world and in their tasks. As I mentioned before, related to the ECRIF strategy, PPU framework is emerged from ECRIF strategy, and ECRIF stands for encountering, clarification, remembering, internalizing, and fluent use. Related to ECRIF, it focuses more on learning process. It created to promote effectiveness, successful communication. It aims to provide a tool that teachers can use to see students' activities. And ECRIF describes the learning process and what students go through as they learn during a lesson. The major goal of ECRIF strategy is to encourage meaningful and effective interaction between the learners and the target, environment. This is the relationship between the PPU and the ECREF strategy during a lesson. And let's say now this is a writing lesson plan that applies the PPU framework, presentation, practice, and use, and the ECREF strategy: encounter, clarify, remember, internalize, fluent, and use. These two frameworks are complementary and can be effectively combined to enhance language learning outcomes. At the beginning, the lesson begins with brainstorming, where the teacher introduces the topic, perhaps by telling a short story to the students or showing them some pictures related to the topic, or giving them some words related to the topic. This activity activates students' background knowledge and helps surface their hidden thoughts. The presentation stage, which aligns with the encounter from the ECREF strategy, students here are exposed to new language concepts or writing skills for the first time, and this is important, or this initial exposure helps them to understand what they will apply later in their writing tasks. We can say here that teacher's role is more prominent than the student's role. In the second stage, which is practice, students engage in guided activities to practice what they have learned. This aligns with the clarification from the ECREF strategy and remembering also. Where students begin to, let's say, explore the language more deeply and recall key information. Activities such as think, pair, and share help students clarify doubts, discuss with peers, and actively, we can say, remember new skills. And this depends on their understanding and helps commit concepts to long-term memory. The teacher facilitates this process using something we call it instruction checking questions. Instruction checking questions, ICQ, to confirm comprehension and emphasize the context in general. At this point, students are not only clarify, also remember and internalize the foundational elements of the topic or of the lesson. At this stage, student's role is equivalent to the teacher's role. So they both collaborate actively in the learning process. For the final stage, which is use, this stage corresponds to the internalize and the fluent from the ECREF strategy. At this point, students apply the new concept independently through their writing skills or tasks. They move from structured practice to confident, fluent writing, demonstrating full understanding. The teacher uses here something to make sure that the students understand the topic or the idea. They use something we call it concept checking question to confirm comprehension before students begin writing. And these questions ensure that learners or students can apply the concepts meaningfully. At this stage, the students take the lead now, and their role becomes more dominant than the teacher's role, even beyond the classroom in their real life. The data collection, pre and post test or assessments. The experimental and the control groups completed pre and post writing assessments to evaluate their writing fluency in expository essay. These assessments were designed to assess the impact of presentation, practice, and use framework on writing fluency among female Saudi EFL students. Determine whether the PPU framework significantly enhanced writing fluency, including speed, organization, structural improvement, and coherence compared to traditional writing instruction, and explore the perceptions of female Saudi EFL students regarding the effectiveness and utility of the PPU framework in improving their academic writing skills. The pre-assessment served as a baseline to measure students' initial writing fluency in expository essay prior to the application of the PPU framework. The post-assessment evaluated improvements in writing speed, organization of ideas, structure, and coherence after the PPU-based intervention. A follow-up questionnaire was administered to explore students' perceptions of the PPU framework and its effectiveness in enhancing their academic writing skills. The data analysis. This analytical rubric provided reliable criteria across organization, speed, cohesion, ensuring consistent evaluation of writing fluency. The equality of the control and the experimental group was verified through the independent samples t-test on the pre-writing scores. Means and standard deviations were calculated for both groups' writing performance scores pre and post-test to identify changes in fluency, speed, organization, and coherence. To address the first and the second research questions, independent samples t-test were used to compare the post-test results between the groups and examine the significance of differences. And to answer the third question, qualitative data from the post-study questionnaire were analyzed to understand the students' perceptions related to the effectiveness of the PPU framework. The results. When we talk about the first question, to what extent does the PPU framework affect the writing fluency among female Saudi EFL students? Table 4 shows that experimental group wrote faster and more effectively than the control group. The experimental mean or the experimental group scored, as shown here, 30.05, while the control group scored 21.50, which means effective or very large effect. Table 6 also shows significant improvement in organization and coherence. The experimental group had mean score of 8.10, while the control group 6.30, which means statistically significant. The PPU framework helps students plan and write more quickly, and also produce writing that was better organized and more coherent. First question discussion. The findings indicate that the PPU framework had a clear and statistically significant positive impact on student writing fluency. Talking about the second research question, what is the statistical significance at the significance level of alpha of the impact of the PPU framework on enhancing expository essay writing among female Saudi EFL students in terms of speed, idea, organization, structure, improvement, and coherence compared to traditional writing instruction? And statistical tests were conducted to determine whether the differences between the control and the experimental groups were statistically significant. The speed here is for experimental group 30.05, and while for the control group 21.50, which means statistically significant. For organization and coherence, for experimental group 8.10, and while the control group 6.30, which is also statistically significant. Since all the p-values were less than alpha, the results confirmed that the PPU framework had a statistically significant positive impact on students' expository writing essays compared to traditional instruction. So, the second question discussion, these results demonstrate that the PPU framework had a significant effect on all dimensions of writing fluency compared to traditional instruction. Going to the third question, what are the perceptions of female Saudi EFL students regarding the effectiveness and the utility of the PPU framework in improving their writing fluency? The perceptions of Saudi female EFL students regarding the PPU framework were overwhelmingly positive. Quantitative data from the post-intervention questionnaire revealed consistently high mean scores across item assaying writing fluency stage, effectiveness, and overall satisfaction, with average range from 4.35 to 4.55 on a 5-point Likert scale. As you see here, table 12 shows that students rated noticeable improvement in their writing fluency after using the PPU framework, like 90% of students experienced moderate to high levels of engaging during the PPU framework or writing sessions. And a student indicates that one student stated, I used to get stuck at the beginning of writing, but now I know we start with a plan, so I don't feel overwhelmed anymore. Table 13 indicates each stage of the PPU pre-writing planning using frameworks was perceived as effective with high agreement percentage. All participants, 100%, responded positively, indicated that the PPU framework made writing a more enjoyable experience. And the students reflected that I never liked writing before. Now it's fun because I know what to do and I feel proud of my work. Another student said that writing felt like a test in other classes, but in PPU it felt like I was learning something real that made me want to write more. Table 14 reflects a strong engagement and satisfaction, reinforcing the framework's perceived value, and it shows that combined 90% of participants reported an improvement in their writing speed, with the majority, 55%, indicated a moderate improvement, and 35% reported either great or extreme progress. And a student reflected here, now I can write a full paragraph in 10 minutes before I needed 30 minutes. This reflects a meaningful shift in both speed and confidence. Another student said, the steps help me focus when I plan first. I don't waste time thinking while writing. The table 15 shows that most students, 90%, reported that their writing organization improved through participation in the PPU framework. A student said, before PPU, my ideas were all over the place. Now I use an outline and follow a clear order. Table 16 shows that the majority of students, 75%, reported a perceived improvement in the cohesion of their writing, indicating that their text flowed more logically and were easier to follow. And the students indicate that I learned to use however, and as a result, to connect my sentences. And this reflects a growing awareness of logical connectors, a key strategy for enhancing cohesion. It's important for cohesion. The results presented in Table 17 indicate a highly favorable reception for the PPU framework, with 95% of students reporting satisfaction and 55% expressing high satisfaction. This response reflects the framework's perceived effectiveness, accessibility, and relevance in enhancing writing instruction. A student said, with PPU, I knew exactly what I expect each time. That helped me focus and feel in control. So the findings for the third question indicate that students held highly positive perceptions for the PPU framework as a tool for improving their expository writing fluency. Participants generally found that the structured approach of the framework to be helpful in organizing their ideas, enhancing clarity, supporting coherence in their essays. The pre-writing and the planning stages, in particular, were seen as beneficial in reducing writing anxiety and providing a clear roadmap for drafting. Moreover, students expressed increased confidence in their ability to write more effectively and independently after being exposed to the PPU framework. Identified learning challenges. Some students experienced anxiety during the transition from brainstorming to drafting. Emotional and psychological barriers can hinder writing performance, even when structure is provided. Learners may struggle with confidence, self-monitoring, and decision-making during writing tasks. As Helen said in 2006, or notes, the absence of metacognitive strategies limits students' ability to reflect and improve on their writing independently. Conclusion. The study purpose is to investigate the effectiveness of the PPU framework supported by ECRIF in improving expository writing essays or skills among Saudi female EFL secondary students, focused on enhancing fluency, speed, organization, coherence, and student engagement. The study used quantitative data, qualitative data. For quantitative done by significant improvement in all writing areas in the experimental group. Large effect size in post-test writing fluency. Students wrote faster with more clarity, coherence, and structural control. For qualitative, students reported increased confidence, task clarity, and improved ability to plan, organize, and revise. 90% noted better idea organization, 75% showed improved cohesion, and lastly, findings aligns with the Highland 2006 and Halliday and Hassan in 1976 on the teachability of cohesion and coherence. Affective outcomes. 100% of students found writing more enjoyable using PPU framework. 90% felt more engaged during writing sessions. Enjoyment linked to structure, collaboration, and interactive tasks supporting Graves and Bajaris. But the challenges noted, we have to look at these. 5 to 10% of students were unsure about progress in cohesion or overall improvement. This indicates need for differentiate instruction and integration of metacognitive strategies. Recommendation. Based on the study, several key recommendations we have to mention. Adopted process-based frameworks. Incorporating models like PPU and ECREF into writing curricula can effectively develop students' planning, drafting, and revising skills, addressing limitations of traditional product-based approaches. Strengthen teacher training. Educators should be trained in a process-oriented strategies, collaborative techniques, and instructions of coherence and cohesion to ensure successful classroom implementation. Teach cohesion explicitly. Instruction should be emphasized cohesive devices through modeling, guided practices, and text analysis to enhance textual flow and clarity. Encourage collaborative writing. Peer-based activities during writing stages can be boost motivation, reduce anxiety, and improve overall writing quality. Foster a positive writing environment. Writing classes should be student-centered, interactive, and supportive to enhance enjoyment and engagement, promoting long-term writing confidence. Differentiate instruction. Formative assessment should guide personalized, supported for students needed additional scaffolding, ensuring all learners can progress effectively. And here are some references that I used here in my presentation, but actually I have more than 160 references in my thesis. Here are only some of them, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ghadeer. Okay, Ghadeer, now we have 8 questions. Your answers depend on your deep research and deep study and your attitudes, your thoughts in general, your awareness about your subject. Okay. We will not ask questions in details between lines because you have presented a very good presentation with a lot of details about the intervention and the context of your study. So I want you to focus on the components of the question and try to tell us as a scholar what are the benefits that you gain from this research study, okay? So the first question is, what was the fundamental educational need that motivated you to conduct this research? And how does your study address this gap in the field of TESOL? Mainly, you will speak about the problem statement and your observation of the need of this kind of intervention and this kind of study. Please.
Okay. Like the main educational problem my research aimed to solve is the lack of writing fluency among Saudi EFL students in Saudi Arabia in general, especially in expository writing essays. Despite years of English instruction, many students struggle to write like full paragraph or good paragraph with they struggle with speed, organization, and cohesion. Why? This is due to the traditional methods or traditional teaching methods that focus more on grammar, on vocabulary, and memorization than real writing practices. Related to the issue, which is important to the field of TESOL, because writing is a key academic and communicative skill, and improving fluency helps learners to express ideas clearly. We can see that the PPU or the effectiveness of the PPU in my study offers structured, student-centered approaches that aligns with the current TESOL goals, focusing on meaningful, engaging, practical instruction, which empowers learners to write confidently and effectively and easily. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ghadeer. Now, the second question, how does the PPU framework conceptually differ from traditional writing instruction models? You mentioned that many times, that I believe in PPU and it gives very exceptional results. So would you clarify how it differs from traditional writing instruction models, and why do you believe it is particularly effective for Saudi female EFL learners? Start.
The PPU framework improves writing by giving students a clear process. First, see examples in the presentation stage, then they practice the skills with support from the teacher, and finally they can use the skills independently. So this is the idea. Unlike traditional methods, which often focus on memorizing isolated vocabulary, isolated grammar, rules, and so on, without emphasizing how students can apply these these elements actually in real writing tasks. So the PPU framework in general makes students actively think, plan, organize, and write, draft, and so on. It builds their fluency step by step confidently. This is very important to express ideas clearly and logically.
Excellent. So it is a systemized method, or it is a systemized framework which is derived from ECRIF method. Now, I want you to integrate the PPU steps to ECRIF steps. You have clarified that while you were presenting your presentation. For example, in the encountering a problem stage, as a teacher, in reality, I'm making the warming up, right? So would you integrate the PPU with ECRIF steps?
Yeah, okay. As we said that the PPU derived from the ECRIF learning strategy, correct? Which is the presentation, practice, and use framework rooted in the ECRIF in general strategy, which is encountering, clarification, remembering, internalizing, and fluent end use. Learning, the ECRIF is learning strategy, which emphasizes a structured approach to like language learning that fosters active engagement and a gradual mastery the language or the writing. Focusing on a process writing and active engagement, this study is grounded in the theory of process writing, which emphasizes writing as a development process rather than just a product. So active engagement with writing tasks is central to helping students internalize writing strategies and improve their fluency over the time while they doing their writing tasks.
Very good. Okay, let's move to question number 4. In your opinion, which of the 3 components of writing fluency you have mentioned and you have studied in your research, 3 components of writing fluency, the speed, organization, and cohesion. So which one of them was most impacted by the PPU framework and why?
I think related to my study or related to the findings of my study, which is the speed. because the experimental group scored the highest score, which is like maybe 30.02. Yeah, I think the speed, which is the one that won in my presentation or in my thesis because of the result. The result shows that it has the highest grade or the highest mark during or in front of the control group. The experimental group scored the highest standard deviation or the mark.
Now, from your real experience in this research, did you notice that the cohesion in writing improved? Their organizing of their writing is also improved. And would you give more examples about these improvements?
Yes, I give you some examples about the improvement.
Yeah.
So related to coherence and organization, related to my students, I mentioned that the students wrote some, let's say, relative sentences or used some words to connect sentences together, like because, however, as a result, and so on. And grammatically, they wrote more. They wrote better than previous. And also they used full and complete sentence. They used punctuation marks. They used capitalization also. So this is a part of coherence and cohesion and organization for the paragraph. Yes.
So from the real examples or samples, you noticed that. Very good. Okay. Now, question number 5. What were the most significant challenges you faced during data collection and analysis, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, actually, one of the main challenges or difficulties I faced in collecting my data was managing students' participation, because some students were absent during either the pre-test or the post-test, which affect the consistency of my data. Also, I faced maybe what we call time constraints within the school schedule. One of the problems that I already faced, which is the writing abilities between the students. So it was a challenge to meet everyone's needs. Also, managing time for each stage of the PPU, especially practice and use, was difficult. But actually, I tried to overcome with all these issues by coordinating the teachers and the teachers in the school that I already applied my study there.
Okay, thank you. Question number 6. Beyond the scope of your study, you were studying, you just studied, sorry, the effect of PPU on writing skill for EFL students in Saudi Arabia country. Now, beyond this scope of your study, how do you envision the practical application of your findings in broader EFL education settings in Saudi Arabia or similar contexts? For example, in Qatar, in Bahrain, in the Gulf region in general.
Yeah, I think this study provides valuable insights into how the PPU framework can enhance writing fluency among EFL learners wherever they are. It offers guidance for educators, policymakers, curriculum developers to design more effective learner-centered writing instruction. As my study concluded, structured frameworks like PPU and ECREF are not only effective but urgently needed to improve writing skills and students' engagement in Saudi Arabia and other countries. So it's important for policymakers in general.
Good. And do you think it is suitable for other kinds of skills in teaching English language as a foreign language?
Yeah, for sure. Like you mean skills, not only for writing. We can use it with speaking skills, because we can use a PPU model for a novice with all skills, but with with advanced people or with advanced students, we can use it with speaking and with writing skills. Yes, we can use.
And yeah, and the grammar and
Yeah,
vocabulary.
grammar for sure, and vocabulary.
Very good. So we can expand the scope of our study
Yeah, we
for
can.
other skills and other countries, and maybe other stages of learning of proficiency. For example, you mentioned that the PPU is suitable for novice and
Mhm.
for intermediate and advanced students. Your students are intermediate. I can make other study to study the effect of PPU on novice students and on advanced students. Good.
Yes.
Question number 7, reflecting on the study results now. If you were to replicate or extend this research in the future, what modifications or further areas of investigation would you pursue?
Okay, maybe I expand my study to have more than 40 participants. Okay, number one. Number two, maybe I can take the male sample, not only the female, to check whether we have the same finding or not.
Okay, so you are speaking about the sample. You are speaking about the sample, mainly the number of students and the gender of
And maybe
students.
we can apply the PPU model on speaking skill.
Good, good.
With,
So
with
you
male
can
and with male and to expand the sampling. Yeah.
So you can expand to other skill.
Yes, maybe.
And think more. Depend on your recommendations.
Okay, maybe if I repeat the study, I would expand the sample size to include students from different regions or schools.
Okay,
Maybe
so
not just
you
only
will
one.
very good. So you will expand to countries,
Yeah.
students,
Yes.
sample countries, skills.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe I expand the qualitative tools, like maybe interviews the students, not only questionnaire to write their ideas or their perceptions.
Excellent. So you can add another tool in your study to make generalizations are wider. Very good. Okay. The last question, how did the professional doctorate program, this is a general question, open question for you, and to be realistic with yourself. How did the professional doctorate program at New York World Professional University benefit you in the field of teaching English as a foreign language? And would you recommend such programs for other teachers to improve their methodologies in teaching foreign languages?
You know, I will tell you shortly, briefly, in general. Once I start with you, I started to use this model and I applied it on my students in the university I already teach in, Arab Open University. I started to teach my students the PPU model. You know that I always make for them pre-test and post-test for some topics we have during our writing tasks, and they feel that they have something new. They enjoy their time. They improved. They have improved in writing and in organization and coherence. So yes, I get benefited from this application because I apply it on my students usually. I already applied it and I will continue to apply it.
Yes, and this kind of programs are very important for English teachers, especially for as a foreign language, because always we need a new methodology to simplify, to organize our teaching. Teaching English as a foreign language, it doesn't mean that I am proficient in English only. I must be also have the tool and the way that I can teach this language to the speakers of other languages. Yes. Thank you very much, Ghadeer. This is the end of the questions. Let's take another 5 minutes break to announce the decision of the committees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dissertation Evaluation Committee decision. After thorough assessment of the dissertation entitled The Impact of the PPU Framework on Improving English Expository Essay, Writing Fluency, Speed, Organization, and Cohesion among EFL Saudi female students, submitted by Ms. Ghadeer Naser to fulfill the requirements of the Professional Doctorate Degree in TESOL at New York World Professional University, USA. The following decision has been reached. The decision was based on 2 examinations, by the way. The first one, the external examiner's evaluation of the written dissertation. It started before a week. And the internal examiner's evaluation of the students' recorded live defense session, which is now, it happened now, including her ability to effectively present her research and confidently answer all evaluation questions. Upon reviewing both components, the committee concluded that Ms. Ghadeer Naser demonstrated full academic competence, critical thinking, and a distinguished ability to present and defend her research. Her overall evaluation grade has been determined as excellent. Accordingly, the examination committee hereby approves the dissertation and confirms the awarding of the Professional Doctorate Degree in TESOL with the grade of excellent to Ms. Ghadeer Naser. We extend our congratulations to the candidate and wish her continued success in her academic and professional career. Signed by Prof. Basma Salim, Chair of the Dissertation Evaluation Committee, New York World Professional University, date 26th of April, 2025. Thank you and congratulations, Ghadeer.
Thank you, Dr. Basma, for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.